All right, let's go to the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Fantasy football is back for Week 12. We have the Thursday night football game for you, and it's the Colts and the Texans. And here to help you with your Week 12 fantasy football lineup, it's Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com. Jeff, welcome back. We got Thursday night football action, and we got some interesting players to get in your lineup today. Who do you like?
Well, tonight is going to be an interesting game. We got an AFC South duel with Houston and Indianapolis. Could be a close game. Deshaun Watson obviously is a solid starter at quarterback. Running back, the key to pay attention to see who's going to be active for the Colts. You could pick up Jonathan Williams as a possible flex, or even Jordan Wilkins, who's due back. If one of them is out, Nyheim Hines is an option as a flex as well. Houston has the better running back situation with Carlos Hyde as a running back 2 and Duke Johnson as a flex. Wide receiver, you got DeAndre Hopkins as a wide receiver 1. T. Hilton should be back as a wide receiver 2 with Zach Pascal as a 3. And Will Fuller might be active too as a possible wide receiver 3. And lastly, Jack Doyle is a possible tight end with Eric Ebron. Eric Ebron's a little questionable, but either of those guys could be out there on a week that's very tough for tight ends.
All right, let's look at some of the quarterbacks this week for Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. If you have a question, send a text to 609-403-0973. I'm going to start with Dak Prescott this week. He's been great, but the Patriots defense best in the league. So is Dak a good play this week?
Yeah, he's up there. He's in the top 10 for sure. I think that Dallas and New England could be a shootout. New England's really banged up at wide receiver, though, so it could be an interesting game. Cowboys a lot more potential for an upset here, but I think Dak Prescott, their offense is really hinging on him, keep it balanced, and spread the ball around. There's 3 good wide receivers plus a viable tight end.
All right, Baker Mayfield finally had a big game on Thursday night. Now he's got the Dolphins as he followed up with another big one.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned you had to start him. I guess that worked out for you, didn't it? But
unfortunately, I played against Jimmy Garoppolo.
Ooh, you can't control that. But against Miami, you can control things, and I think Cleveland could be looking for a good game at home, finally getting, building that momentum, coming off the mini bye week by playing last Thursday. Mayfield is definitely a quarterback 1 possibility this week.
All right, another guy who's back is Nick Foles. So is he a fantasy player?
Against Tennessee, that's a tough one. I think it's a bad matchup for Jacksonville all around. Foles will try and do things. I think DJ Chark is a solid play, but for the most part, Tennessee's going to control that ball by running it down Jacksonville's throat, and it's not going to be too much for Foles in that offense.
All right, another quarterback here to take a look at, Jeff Pasquino, Football Guys. Let's stay home with Carson Wentz. Seattle's defense, not the Legion of Boom anymore, so is there a lot of big plays to be had against that defense?
Yes, but the problem is the Philadelphia wide receiver situation. Alshon Jeffrey's practicing. Aguilar's been out of the mix, but they have 2 viable tight ends, and they've got Miles Sanders at the backfield. I think Carson Wentz, again, is a borderline quarterback 1. He's top 10 for us this week, and which should be a shootout against the Seahawks.
All right, let's go to some running backs. If you have a question for Jeff, send us a text, 609-403-0973. A couple of running backs to throw your way. How about Mark Ingram? Everybody knows that, Lamar Jackson's in the MVP conversation, and he's the guy. But Ingram, we forget he came from the Saints to the Ravens. He almost seems like we haven't heard much about him.
Well, Ingram is really quietly putting up on a solid season. The Ravens are, by and large, the number 1 rushing offense, averaging over 200 yards per game. Thanks a lot for Lamar Jackson. But Mark Ingram is solid. He's catching passes out of the backfield. He scored on a reception last week. He's a solid running back, too, with some upside against the Rams this week.
All right, another running back that's interesting. It seems like interesting every week is Le'Veon Bell. He's got Oakland this week, and now he's complaining about how many times he's been tested. But is he a guy you're putting in the lineup?
I think you have to this week. He's certainly in the running back 1 category for us against Oakland. The Jets are trying to work some balanced offense when using the tight ends more and Crowder at wide receiver. But it's opening things up for Bell, and Bell got a nice touchdown last week from the goal line, so I think he's a solid running back 1 play this week.
All right, another guy I find interesting this week is going to be Jalen Samuels against the worst team in the league, Cincinnati. So do you like Samuels with Connor out?
I do, and there's not much for the Steelers on offense aside from Samuels and James Washington, who's a decent pickup this week. Aside from that, they're really banged up on for the entire depth chart. So Samuels and Washington are solid plays against a winless Bengals terrible team for the Bengals this year.
Yeah, they have been awful this year. What about Bo Scarborough? He was a fantasy name last week. Is he back this week?
Yeah, he's a solid pickup this week, but it's a bad matchup. He'll see some volume there, but he's mixing up with J.D. McKissick, and they're actually throwing more than they run right now. So I think he's more of a running back 2/flex option against Washington. The game, I think that you're looking at a Lions blowout, which they haven't had much opportunity to do that this week against a very bad Washington team as well.
For all the people that held on all year to Kareem Hunt, they're playing the Dolphins this week. Do you like them?
I do. They're using him a lot, especially as a receiver. And against Miami, you could be looking to rest Nick Chubb and some of the starters and running Hunt out there in the fourth quarter, get him more involved in the offense. It's a great matchup for Cleveland all around.
Talk with Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Text in your questions, 609-403-0973. All right, a couple receivers we'll throw your way. Let's go with, how about Courtland Sutton? I mean, they're playing the Bills. It's been very tough, and Sutton's the top option out there.
He is. He's the number one guy, but he's seen a lot of work, and he's putting up decent numbers for the Broncos. He's the top wide receiver with not much else in the offense for the Broncos. He's a wide receiver 1 in PPR this week.
All right, what about Allen Robinson? That Bears offense is a mess, but they're playing the Giants, who give up a lot of big plays.
Yeah, they are, and it looks like Mr. Trubisky is going to give it a go this week, which could be bad or good news for the Bears. But I think you got to put Allen Robinson as a wide receiver too. Again, 4 teams on a bye, so you're going to have to look down your depth chart.
Kenny Golladay, you got Detroit playing Washington. Now, Washington's an awful team, but are they a bad defense?
They're not the best defense. Golladay and Marvin Jones are right there, that wide receiver 20 to 30 range. So wide receiver 2 with upside. Golladay sees more volume and more deep threats.
Now, I know Foles is back. DJ Chark typically seems to do better when Foles is there. So do you like him?
Yeah, DJ Baby Chark has been putting up the numbers this year, and he's a top 15 guy this week again. He scored last week, and I think he's going to put up predictive numbers. Tennessee's going to, as I said earlier, they're going to run the ball a lot, but Jacksonville's going to have to drop back and throw in the second half.
All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Get your questions in. Jeff and Ryan have been compiling a lot of your listener questions. Let's see what we got from the listeners this week.
Can I just quickly say how criminal it is that Allen Robinson has to be a wide receiver too? I mean, this guy is as good as it gets, and he's with
That's Penn State homerism.
I'm just serious.
At its
I'm serious.
finest.
He's a great wide receiver. But anyway, Jeff, one of our listeners asks, if you were to start one of these two defenses, which would it be, Ravens or Rams?
Oh, that's a tough one. But the Ravens have been more productive from a opportunistic standpoint. I think they have about 5 touchdowns in the year. Better for turnovers, better for sacks. I think Rams are going to get some sacks, but Lamar Jackson's too elusive. I would go with the Ravens this week.
All right, Jeff, we have another one here from a listener, Jarvis Landry or Devontae Parker, and he goes on to say, I am already forced to start Baker Mayfield and Kareem Hunt. Starting 3 Cleveland Browns players is really scaring me.
Yeah, but if ever there's a week to do it, it's against Miami. So I think Jarvis Landry, if you need a big performance in a big game, I think you're all in on Cleveland this week. You may as well roll Landry out there, especially in a PPR league. He's going to see 5-6 catches for sure.
Jeff, I didn't think we'd ever reach the point where I'm going to ask you this question, but someone wants to know if they should start Tom Brady or Jacoby Brissett. That's where we are in 2019.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, Tom Brady's really thin at wide receiver, but Jacoby Brissett's ranked down a little bit lower. I do like Brissett's upside, especially with T.Y. Hilton back probably, but Tom Brady's he's definitely the safer play. I would lean towards Brady.
All right, another one here. If T.Y. Hilton cannot play tonight, he's in a PPR league, and he wants to know if Hollister, the tight end from Seattle, is worth picking up.
Absolutely. That was the guy I actually highlighted because the tight end is a desperate need this week with both Travis Kelce and Hunter Henry and Kyle Rudolph out and Arizona off because they're the best matchup for tight ends. So, yes, definitely get Hollister out there. I know they're getting Ed Dixon back, but I think Hollister has been productive lately, and the Eagles are not the best against tight ends.
All right, Jeff, we have a double flex slot here with about 300 different candidates. I'll try to go through them slowly. Jonathan Williams, Deebo Samuel, Sonny Michel, John Brown, Josh Gordon, or Devontae Parker.
So Deebo Samuel and the number one is Michael, or actually Sonny Michel for New England because, again, nothing's going to have to run the ball. I think Deebo Samuel is almost the wide receiver 1 by default. Emmanuel Sanders not 100%, but San Francisco's going to have to put up points against Green Bay. So I like playing a big offense that's going to need a lot of points. So give me Michel and Deebo Samuel.
All right, PPR League. He wants you to pick 2, Joe Mixon, Phillip Lindsay, or Jalen Samuels.
I would take Samuels based on volume. Mixon, I can't take a Bengal in good conscience, so I think go Philip Lindsay, especially in BPR.
All right, last one. Standard League flex position: Darren Waller, Josh Gordon, or Deontay Johnson.
Deontay Johnson should be back in action this week, but I think Waller is a solid play for Oakland. I think he's the number 2 tight end for us this week, and I think that he could probably easily find the end zone this week.
All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Give us a couple of guys that you like this week, sleepers, under the radar, some plays that maybe need to be in everybody's lineup.
Well, let me start at tight end because that's really the desperate need this week. And we mentioned one of the guys I liked in Hollister, but Noah Fant for Denver has a good matchup, as does Ryan Griffin for the Jets. And if you're desperate, Cameron Brate at Tampa Bay against Atlanta. Running back's really thin this week. Brian Hill, if he's still available, is definitely a pickup, as is Kareem Hunt, who we mentioned earlier. Tarek Cohen is more of a receiver, so he's a PPR gold for a running back. I also like if they're down to 2 backs for the Colts, you can pick up one of those 2. At wide receiver, I think you're looking at more in the wide receiver 3 category. James Washington, as mentioned earlier, he's going to be the number 1 wide receiver for the Steelers. Also, Darius Slayton for the Giants, who may be without Ingram at tight end. Randall Cobb has seen a lot of targets. Hunter Renfrow for Oakland, and also Josh Reynolds for the Rams, because they are also banged up at wide receiver.
Yeah, by the way, I had Robert Woods last week, and nobody told me that he was just deciding to take the time off. And it looks like that might be the case again this week. So I need to find a guy on the waiver wire. All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Don't forget, Week 12 starts tonight, and you can hear the game on 97.3 ESPN. Make sure you get your bye week guys out and get your other guys back in. And good luck to everybody out there. Good luck, Jeff.
Good luck, everybody, and enjoy the games.